Yes. So that's the math, 135, 319. And yes, you might start at 139, 999 so that you can come down and play the game. You just know at that point you can't take anything less. That's a very common scenario. It's calculated like a net listing because that, in essence, that's what the net listing would calculate. Hey, I need this number. Anything over this number, you can have. But this comes from clients, oh, I'm in trouble with the bank. I'm behind on my payments. Just want to sell it and walk away so I don't get a foreclosure. Okay, what do you owe? Here's my payoff. We can go from there. Still on the same slide. A lot of information. All right, the MLS, we've been bantering this term around, is called the multiple listing service. The multiple listing service in the MIBOR area is called BLC, Brokers Listing Cooperative. If you're listing outside of the Indianapolis area, you probably still call yours the MLS. Indianapolis has nicknamed theirs the BLC, all right? So you'll get used to calling that. Broker Listing Cooperative. It's called a cooperative because we all own the data. It's our data, all right? It is nothing more than a database of houses that when you list, this is where you list and put all the information. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, 1,500 square feet. The taxes are this. And then you put the little description of the house and the measurement of the bedrooms and all of that. One of the things you put in that BLC is the amount of BAC that you're paying out. The BAC is the buyer's agent commission. This is going to be a number that you guys want to know. What it's telling you in advance is the amount of money that you're going to get paid if you can get this deal closed with your buyer. Remember, it's based upon the final sales price, not the listing price. All right? This is the only job in the world, think about this. This is the only job in the world where you guys are going to actively negotiate yourself a lower paycheck. Right? Because that's what happens. On the BLC, I list it for 6%. That's in my listing contract with my client. I decide I'm going to put 3% out. So in the bottom of this MLS sheet is this thing called the BAC, and it's going to say 3%. So you have the sheet, and there's the picture of the house. Down here in the bottom is this term BAC, and you see 3%. We've got it listed at $139.9. That's the list price. The BAC is your portion of the math we did the other day. Remember I said I give half of it away. What happens to that? I don't care. It's not mine anymore. This is what we're talking about. So I enter all of this data for the house into the MLS. The MLS is nothing more than a database of information that you put on your computer. You put it in. Then the buyer hires an agent or contracts with an agent to be the buyer's agent for them and tells him, hey, I want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,500 square foot ranch. The buyer's agent then goes out and searches the MLS, the BLC, and pulls out all of the houses that are 3-bedroom, 2-bath, pulls all 4 of them out, shows that to the client, and he says, okay, let's go look at number 1. They like number 1, so they go and they look at the MLS. They write an offer over to us, and now we are what's called a cooperating brokers. We're cooperating brokers. Notice the word cooperating. We are supposed to obviously work together to try and get this deal across the finish line. Now, you still wouldn't do that in jeopardy of harming your client, but we still have to work together, all right? We're called cooperating brokers. That's how this whole system works. And we're going to get into offers and all of that other stuff in another chapter. So, any questions about how the MLS? See, and that's what happens. This database is different for every board of realtors. So like here, we use a company called Property Links, which does our MLS system. Bloomington uses Home Finder. It's a different database company. And that's what we were talking about, the open listings. I cannot see their database because I am not a member. Now that's a lie because I specifically am, but you guys couldn't. So you, Greater Board of Lafayette or Greater Board of Lafayette, we can't see their database because we're not members, so we don't know anything that's listed up there. That's the problem you have. There has been a push to try and get all of Indiana onto one database. But a lot of the boards are fighting it because they make money and they would have to give up control and it would probably lay people off and all of that. One of the big cuss words that you're going to hear most agents talk about is this company called Zillow that everybody hates. You shouldn't hate it. The guy's business plan originally was to create one MLS for the entire country so that you could sit in Carmel and your buyer fly to Arizona and you could look up properties in Arizona on this one large database.
That's what I was going to ask you. If you find a property on Zillow and then ask your agent to take you there to see it, can they still do that, or do they have to be a part of that listing service?
If your client sees something on Zillow and they ask you to see it, yes, you can, because Zillow's not an MLS. Zillow's now just a privately owned company that shows property, all right? So if your client sees a house and they call you and go, hey, I saw a really cool house, I want you to find me information, okay.
Well, the question that I had was because when I was looking for a house in Bloomington, the reason that I couldn't get an agent here to show me one is because they didn't have access to the lockbox.
They didn't have access to their, well, the lockbox was the question you asked, yes, because they use different lockboxes too. But that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason. Because literally, being licensed, my license is good from Jeffersonville to Fort Wayne. The problem is my knowledge of those markets are not good. So I shouldn't try and list a house. How much do houses go for in King Park and Fort Wayne? Anybody know? Either do I, because I just made that up. But that's the point. You don't know. So if someone says, can you list my house in Fort Wayne? Legally, I can. Ethically, I'm not doing my client the best service because I don't know that market. I would say, you know what, let me find you a good agent in Fort Wayne. I'd call Fort Wayne and say, I want to bring you a buyer. You're going to pay me a referral fee for that, and I'll let you deal with them. All right? So if you wanted to see a house in Bloomington, there's two things that could have happened. One is your client would have said, hey, I'd love to do that. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to call my friend in Bloomington. He's going to call you and let him deal with you, and I'll get a referral fee for that. Or he could have said, what house are you specifically looking at? 12 Smith Street. He can actually go to 12 Smith Street, see who's listed it. Oh, that's the Century 21. Call them directly and go, hey, I'm an agent out of your system. Send me the information on that property, and I want to go see it. Well, we use Centralock here. They use eKey. He could have called that other agent and said, hey, you want to make a sale? You got to open the door for me. We're going to be there at 5 o'clock. That agent would have loved to have done that.
So if you're physically at the property and call the selling agent, they're likely to...
If you're physically at the property, you're with your selling agent, remember? Don't confuse those. You can call the listing agent. The selling. I know what you meant, but you got to say so that I know what you mean. You're with the selling agent. You can call the listing agent and say, yeah, can you get me in? We're standing here now. You got about a 80-20% chance of that working. Because they're like, it's Halloween. I'm dealing with my kids, or I'm at the movie. Best bet would have been, hey, we are coming down tomorrow. Can you meet us at that property? And all I need you to do is open the door and let me in. All right?
How long have you ever had any experience of buyer?
How long have I ever had a buyer? About 30 houses in, I wanted my client to fire me so bad. Yeah. True story, I literally made this client buy, and she's still living in the house today. Yeah, we looked at about 30 houses, and she wanted like 6 things in a house. We could never find it. We could always find 5, what the different combination was. So she called me, she goes, I got another list of houses. I said, no, you don't, we're done. And I was hoping that she was going to fire me. And she's like, what? I said, look, you are not going to find all 6 of those in the area you want it. We've looked at 30, pick one, let's write an offer. And she said, well, I like the one on 16th Street. I said, that's my favorite one. We wrote an offer, closed on the deal. She is still living there today, 7 years later. You know, if you are spending more than 4 or 5 weekends, you have done something wrong. All right? And I go back to that thing she was very good about giving me all 6 things she wanted. The problem was that all 6 weren't in that area. So then you start going, okay, give me 6 things. There should only be 8 houses that meet all 6. We're going to buy one of those 8. If you're not buying one of those 8, either you didn't tell me the truth or I didn't ask the right question. Because if we found 8 houses that all have all 6 things you want and you didn't buy one of those, something's wrong. All right? You will end up with people that, I had a buyer once that said, I just love doing this. I love looking at houses. I'm like, stop. You're just out because you've been watching too much HGTV, aren't you? We're not doing this anymore. All right, real quick, let's finish this up. Remember the 7 things that terminated agency? Death, destruction, war, pestilence, violence. No, wait, those weren't on there. Expiration, all those things. Remember what creates agency was the listing agreement? So guess what 7 things cancel a listing agreement? The exact same 7. You sell the house, you complete it, that cancels it. It expires, the property's destroyed. Mutual agreement, breach of contract, operation of law, all those cancel a listing agreement just like they would cancel agency. If one party dies or becomes incapacitated, remember, that's me or the client, not one of you. I'm the agent in that scenario. Let's change the audio.